Welcome to another edition of Daily Airline News, focusing on the search for MH370. I'm Jeffrey Thomas, and delighted to say, joined by Blaine Gibson, the wreck hunter who's found loads of debris. Good afternoon to you, Blaine.
And good afternoon to you, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Now, viewers, as we've said to you, as Blaine and I have discussed, the search for MH370 is set to resume in the first week of November. So we're going to be going through some of the most important aspects of that search and what we expect to find and what we expect is going to happen. But as a prelude to that, one of the things we want to revisit is what are the 10 or so most important pieces of debris that have been found. And of course, there's no better person to talk to that subject than Blaine Gibson, who, as I said, has found quite a number of pieces of debris, but more importantly, has galvanized the local residents of places like Mozambique, Madagascar, and other islands to look for the debris. And a lot of that debris has now been handed in to him for carriage to Malaysia for examination. So Blaine, obviously the first and the most important piece of debris was found not by you, but was found on Reunion Island, Reunion Island, was the flaperon, and that was the first piece, and that was huge, wasn't it?
Yes, it was huge. That was on July 29 of 2015. The flaperon was found on La Réunion by Johnny Begg and his cleaning crew, and he had the presence of mind to recognize, even though no notices had been given to La Réunion to be on the lookout, he had the presence of mind to notice that this was a part of an aircraft and needed to be immediately notify the gendarmes, which he did, and that is a great contribution that he made. And why the flaperon is so significant, it was the first piece of physical evidence that confirmed that the plane crashed in the southern Indian Ocean. And it is very significant for the drift analysis because it was predicted by the UWA drift analysis, and it shows that they were searching in basically the right place. However, the early and fast arrival indicated that the crash site was probably a little north of where they were searching. So as soon as the flaperon was found, I went to La Réunion. I looked for debris myself. I met Johnny Begg, wonderful man, and learned from him that the flaperon had actually washed ashore when they found it. It was washing ashore, and that was very significant. So we can fix that date. I then met with Professor Patiarachi in Perth, University of Western Australia, asked him where he thought the crash site was. And he said between 28 degrees south and 33.2 degrees south. And I asked him where I should go and search for debris. And he said Mozambique and Madagascar. And the rest is history.
And of course, that then led you to find the next piece, which was the horizontal stabilizer, or a piece of the horizontal stabilizer with the stencil no step. And for viewers, that's important to understand no step, because that means that those stencils are all over the aircraft's wings and stabilizers. And what that means is don't step on this bit. And that's why they've got no step. So that was a very important piece too.
Yes, and I followed Professor Patiarachi's recommendations. And I went to Vilanculos because it was near exposure to the open Indian Ocean on the Mozambique Channel. I consulted local people. I asked, where does debris wash ashore? And they said, well, there's a sandbank outside of the reef where fishermen go to collect nets and other things they can use. So I went there, and I and the boatman and the captain and a friend of theirs walked around and looked for debris. And actually, Junior Valley picked it up first. We found no step sitting there on the sandbank. And as soon as I held it in my hands and saw no step, I was convinced that this was from the plane. I felt it in my heart. And rather than feeling happiness, because you never feel happiness when you hold a piece of a plane in which people died, I felt a tremendous sense of responsibility to get this piece to authorities and make sure that it was investigated and received the attention it deserved.
Yeah. And we should mention too to the viewers that are listening to this at the moment that all of these pieces we are talking about were in the Malaysian report, in the official Annex 13 report, and have been confirmed as being from MH370. The next piece, Blaine, I think from memory, was the flap track fairing. Is that correct?
Yes, the next piece reported was the flap track fairing.
Yeah.
It was not the next piece found. It was actually the second piece found.
Yeah.
And I would just add that when I first held No Step in my hands, I thought it was from the wing. It turned out to be from the tail.
Yeah.
And it was very significant for the drift analysis and for how the plane broke up, because a plane could possibly fly without a flaperon, but not without a tail.
Yeah.
And I made it very public after I found it because I wanted to get the word out for people to be on the lookout for 370 debris. And it worked because a teenager named Liam Lauder saw me and No Step reported on television and in the papers and said that he had found a piece in Saisai, Mozambique, back at the end of December.
Yeah.
And he had brought it back and kept it in his garage. So he reported that, and that was also a significant piece. I would just add that the flaperon was confirmed from 9MMRO, Malaysia 370, by a matching internal component serial number. And No Step was determined to be almost certainly from 9MMRO by matching the unique Malaysia Airlines stencil, paint, the part number on the hylock pin, and similarly with the fairing, they matched the stencil and located it on the plane.
And just for the viewers, for those viewers who are not necessarily aeronautically experts, when we talk about the tail of an aeroplane consists of the vertical tail and the horizontal stabilizer, the small, if you like, the small wing at the back. That's where No Step came from, the horizontal stabilizer at the back, which is all called in the whole piece. The vertical and the horizontal is called the tail. Now, the next piece that's of real interest to me, I think this is a fascinating piece, is Roy.
Yes, Roy is one of the two most important pieces for the drift analysis, showing the location of the crash. And the reason for that is that it was found on the south coast of South Africa. It was the westernmost to date piece of debris found. And it arrived there very fast. Niels Kruger had seen the reports of Liam Lauder and me in the South African press. And when he was walking on the beach at Mosul Bay, he found Roy with no barnacles on it. That date was March 22 of 2016.
Yeah.
So he went public with that. And then a dentist named Shulk Lukoff saw that in the press and said, "Oh, I saw that piece at that beach in Mosul Bay, Kleinbrocht Beach, in December of 23 of 2015."
Yeah.
And he photographed it, and it had lots of barnacles on it.
Yep.
So we knew exactly when Roy arrived. We knew that pieces would have barnacles on them when they first washed ashore, and then they could wash in and out and be buried in sand and then show up with no barnacles on them. We learned that. And what's so significant is that with the drift analysis, this pushed the crash site north, because the UWA drift analysis showed things arriving in the south of Madagascar, in the Mozambique Channel, and southern South Africa and east coast of South Africa fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And so that really confirmed for me that the crash site was between 28.3 degrees south and 33.2 degrees south in the UWA area.
Yep.
Roy was a very significant find.
And for viewers, Roy is actually Rolls-Royce. And we're showing you now, of course, we've been showing you the piece, but we're now showing you where it came from. It's off the engine cowling of the Rolls-Royce Trent engine on the 777. And that's the Rolls-Royce insignia, and that's stuck onto the engine, like General Electric stick their insignia onto their engines and Pratt & Whitney onto their engines. So, but I think one of the most interesting pieces too, Blaine, and let me get your thoughts on this, is the stowage closet door piece that was found, which meant absolutely that the 777 had broken up, because that's from the inside of the aircraft.
Yes, that's right, Jeffrey. The stowage closet door found in Rodriguez, March 30 of 2016, was very significant. No step and the fairing and Roy had shown that the aircraft shattered on impact. But there were still people saying that, well, maybe the fuselage, maybe the main cabin are intact. Well, no, the stowage closet door was the first piece discovered from the interior cabin. It was discovered on a beach in Rodriguez where I had been searching about half a year before and found nothing. And it was found by a French couple named the Vitries. And because they had seen all the press coverage on the 370 Breed turning up, they knew that this was from the plane and knew to report it. So it was a very significant piece, and the first one that demonstrated that the main cabin and fuselage had shattered on impact.
Yeah. And then we had, I think I'm correct in saying, the left outboard flap. That was the one that was found in Tanzania, wasn't it?
No, the left outboard flap was found in Mauritius in March of 2016. The right outboard flap was the Tanzania one, and we'll get to that later. The left outboard flap is one of the 3 confirmed pieces of 9M by matching serial numbers. The flaperon, the left outboard flap, and the right outboard flap, all confirmed. Other pieces are, and all the ones I'm mentioning today, are from likely to almost certainly from 9MRO, because they don't have serial numbers on them, because they're small shattered pieces. So they match the paint, they match the part numbers, the fabric, different things. But the left outboard flap was confirmed. It was found by 2 tourists, and they left it with the boatman. And the official report says it washed ashore at Îlot Bernache in Mauritius in May of 2016. But I met the boatman, and he took me out to where they found it, and he told me that they had actually found it in March and left it with him. And then after he saw all the press coverage in Mauritius, and of course the other debris had been found, he recognized, okay, this is from the plane. I got to hand it in. So he handed it into authorities in May, but for the drift analysis, it's important to note that it was found washed ashore in March.
Yep.
And the way that it got there, because Îlot Bernache is surrounded by a reef, there was a pass that had been cut in the reef for people to go in and out of. And had it not gone through there, it would have probably just gone on towards Africa.
Sure.
But it managed to wash ashore by going through that pass.
Now, also talking of the left wing, we also had the trailing edge panel, which was found.
Yes, and that was found in Mozambique, and that is another piece of the left wing. There were, of course, more pieces found of the right wing than of the left wing. However, it is significant that the left wing panel was found and determined to be highly likely from 9MMRO. That is supported by both the UWA and CSIRO drift analysis, the location and timing of that, and it's evidence that the left wing broke apart too. People who say, oh, the left wing is intact somewhere underwater. No, it's not. The left wing shattered too. Yeah. How many more pieces there are of the left wing, I don't know, but there are at least 2, perhaps 3.
Yeah. So then we have the flap support fairing tail cone.
That is significant because it was found by a Mauritius Coast Guard officer on foot patrol at Grigri in South Mauritius. So that is the only piece of 3 that has been recovered by an official search. Australia and Malaysia and China and others have spent a lot of money looking underwater, and otherwise all the pieces of debris have been found by private citizens, except this one. So it's a credit to the government of Mauritius that their search for debris produced this result.
So let's get onto the right wing. With another piece was the trailing edge panel from the right wing.
That is the first piece of debris that I found in Madagascar.
Right.
I went to Riake Beach in the northeast of Madagascar, and that was at the recommendation of both Professor Patirachi and David Griffin of CSIRO as a place where debris likely make landfall. And I was told to look for areas that are exposed to the open Indian Ocean. Riake Beach in northeast Madagascar is just that. From the crash site, the currents bring the debris north and then west and then make a direct impact on that beach, which is why so much debris has been recovered there. Yep. Now that is part of the right wing. It was determined to be highly likely from 9MMRO. And one significant thing, it also shows how the wing broke apart, which could possibly have been in the air or on impact with the water. ATSB left that possibility open. However, it's a significant piece showing how the right wing broke apart. And another thing that is not in the official Annex 13 report is that when I found it, there was a small piece of metal embedded in it. Now, that is not referenced in the official report, but when I visited the debris with the 370 families, I pointed out to an engineer that there was this piece of metal embedded in it. And he said, oh, wow, we missed that. We'll look into that. And he did. And he got right back to me and showed me how that had been the top of a fastener, like what we would call a little screw,
Yeah.
on an adjacent panel. So this shows how that when the wing broke up, however it broke up, one piece impacted another right next to it and resulted in the embedding of this little top of the screw.
Okay. Now, one of the other things I found very interesting was the monitor case which you found.
This is, to me, the most compelling piece that I found of Malaysia 370. This is the case around the TV screen on the back of the seat in front of you in economy class. This is something that anyone who flies on a plane looks at and can relate to.
Yep.
This brought tears to my eyes when I held it, because I
Yeah.
realized that this very well could be the last thing that someone saw. They may
Yeah.
have been bracing themselves there. They may have been looking at it. We don't know. But
Yeah.
it was something that we know the passengers observed.
Yeah.
And it is second to the stowage closet door. This confirmed even more that not only did the fuselage shatter on impact, not only did the main cabin shatter on impact, but even the seat did.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is tragic, and this is moving, but it is very, very significant for the analysis of how Malaysia 370 crashed and broke apart.
Yeah. You know, just segueing a little bit here, this Malaysian crash is, special to me because I was privileged enough to be on the delivery flight of their first Boeing 777-200ER. And talking of monitor cases, one of the features of this first aircraft, which I think was in 1996, was the fact we had seatback videos. And on the delivery flight, and there was only a handful of journalists on that delivery flight, and I'm showing you a picture here now of all of us together with one of the heads of Malaysian Airlines. And we were, transfixed to these seatback videos and watching movies all the way back from Seattle. We flew from Seattle to Malaysia nonstop on this delivery flight of this aircraft. So that Malaysian 777 is a very special significance to me. Talking of interiors and monitor cases, another piece was the cabin interior panel that was found.
Yes, exactly. The monitor case was determined to be highly likely from Malaysia 370 by matching the coat hook pin and by matching the fabric on the monitor case, something that someone actually touched.
Yeah.
The other piece, the cabin interior panel, almost certainly from Malaysia 370, because they matched the unique snail trail veneer of Malaysia Airlines on the interior cabin. So this could very well be something that someone leaned up against on that tragic flight. So it also produced a tremendous emotional reaction and is also very compelling evidence that Malaysia 370 tragically shattered on impact. And I found that from a local fisherman. I got it from a local fisherman in June of 2016. All of the debris that we've been describing, the right wing trailing edge panel, monitor case, cabin interior panel, are all from June of 2016. The interior panel was from Ansirica, Madagascar, very near Riake Beach, even though on a different island.
Sure. So then and one of the other pieces was the nose landing gear door, was it not? Another significant piece?
Yes, that's a very significant piece. I remember very well that a local fisherman brought that to me after I had been putting the word out in the village and offering a small reward for pieces of debris. It was very heavy. but I could feel and knew from the materials that it was from the plane. And it was determined to be the landing gear door of Malaysia 370 from Ansirica, a very significant piece that shows how the plane broke apart. And I really think that they should have done more stress analysis of this piece. There may have been some more clues as to how the plane broke apart if a more thorough analysis had been done of that landing gear door.
Mind you, Malaysia hasn't really done a very good job with searching for debris, analysing debris, or even picking debris up. So they've dropped the ball big time on all this, haven't they?
Yes, and I will add right now that all those pieces from June sat there in Madagascar. Madagascar received them well, got in contact with Malaysia. They even scheduled a handover. The dedicated Malaysian engineer even scheduled a trip to Madagascar to pick it up. But the bean counters canceled the trip because it was expensive, they said. And that debris sat there for 6 months in Madagascar, uncollected, undelivered. And you know what it took to shake those bureaucrats up? It took the 370 families going over there and requesting permission to pick the debris up. At that point, the bean counters and Ministry of Transportation realized it would be very embarrassing for them if the families picked it up. So they finally sent the engineer to collect it and deliver it, who was very good.
Yeah. Now, the next piece I've got here, in my notes, Blaine, it is in fact the right outboard wing flap. That's the one found in Tanzania. And that was really significant because my understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is the damage done to it could have only been done to it if it was stowed and not deployed, which indicated a high-speed crash.
Yes, that is exactly correct. The Tanzania wing flap was found by fishermen on Pemba Island. It's the largest piece of 370 debris recovered, and it is the most significant for how the plane broke up. The damage to the wing flap and the adjacent flaperon were analyzed by ATSB and Annex 13 and Boeing. They all looked at them, and they determined that the wing flap was in a retracted position at the time of separation. They looked at the damage to the flaperon adjacent and the wing flap and determined that that damage could only recur if the wing flap was in the retracted position and the flaperon was in, I think they said, the neutral position, which is not what you would see when the plane was landing or ditching. So this was evidence of a high-speed crash with the wings retracted, the wing flaps retracted at time of separation. And they were careful to say at time of separation because ATSB and Annex 13 did not conclude if these pieces broke up on impact with the ocean or perhaps in the air during a high-speed dive. They left that question open. We don't know. But the fact is that they were retracted at time of separation, not deployed as would be during a ditching.
So look, Blaine, let's round up with the cabin floor panel that I remember you showing it to me a few years ago, and I think we're showing a photograph of it now, the cabin floor panel.
Yes, the cabin floor panel, that came from Sandra Venani, Madagascar, in southern Madagascar, and it was determined to be likely from Malaysia 370 because of a matching part number on a placard. This was from the main cabin. They analyzed the materials, the part number, and determined that it was another piece of interior cabin debris
Yeah.
that shattered on impact.
Yeah. 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 So, Blaine, that's all we've got time for today. I think we've gone past 10. I think we might have done 11 or 12 pieces of debris.
If you have time for one more, I'll do it, or I can, from Annex 13, or I can leave it till next time.
Well, let's leave it till next time because there's a few more that
Okay.
we want to talk through, and we'll make it a separate episode to go through because every piece is significant, some more so than others, but our time is running out here. So if we can sort of wrap it up with this, and viewers, we're going to come back with Blaine again to go through more significant pieces of debris as we approach the resumption of the search for MH370 in November. So, Blaine, look, thank you very much indeed for your time today.
Well, thank you, and thank viewers. And in the next episode, we'll go over another piece from the Annex 13 report and also some significant pieces that were never officially investigated but have been identified by experts from photographs and some by physical examination.
Fantastic. So, viewers, please subscribe to us. Please like us. Please join us. And thank you for those who have. Thank you for your support for responsible journalism. Please keep those wonderful comments coming, and please do keep those great questions coming. And we look forward to your company tomorrow. We're going to be joined by Richard Godfrey, and we're going to be talking the first episode looking at the MAX crashes. That's the first of 6 episodes, looking comprehensively at the 737 MAX crashes. And Blaine will be joining us again later in the week to go over some more of the debris. And also we'll start looking at some questions from you about the debris as well. So thank you very much indeed, and please enjoy your Sunday wherever you are in the world. Take care. Thank you, Blaine.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey.